Hello, everyone. Welcome to Awfully Silly, the show where we put the awful and the silly block on blast a little bit and give it that prime time slot it truly deserves. My name is Conception, the host of the show here. We have something a little special for you tonight, something we have never done on Awfully Silly before, and I'm excited to dive into what that is in just a few minutes. Before we get started, though, just want to go over a few announcements of some important things going on. So, first, Frost Fatales 2023 is right around the corner, and prize submissions are still open from now until next Monday, February 20th, which is actually today. So they might have already been closed. So feel free to go on over to games.quick.com for more info, or use !prizes in the Twitch chat to potentially submit any last-minute prizes if it's not already closed, but worth checking. Additionally, GDQ dates have officially been announced. If you aren't aware, they are going to be May 28th through June 4th, live in person in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So stay tuned to our social media and gamesdonequick.com for some more information about GDQ coming up. Things like volunteer applications, run applications, if you're looking to submit, those will all be available on the website. Lastly, of course, for right now, Games Done Quick is returning to PAX East 2023. That's going to be from March 23rd through the 26th. Currently, we are looking for marathon-style speedruns to showcase at the event. If you're interested, game submissions are open now through February 26th, and you can use !PAX, P-A-X, in Twitch chat to submit your runs. Can't wait to see what those are. But for now, I think it's time we get started. Like I said, we have something a little special, a little different. We have definitely something I consider, at least, that is in the awful/silly family. But it's a speedrun adjacent type thing. We're actually going to be doing a category of The Bouncer, Square's famous game on the PS2 from 2000. We're going to be doing a showcase that features a new Game Plus version of the game, the co-storyline with a number of cutscenes, and that is going to be run by Facet and with some special commentary from Trizon as well. So you two, why don't you take it away? Show us how it's done.
Hello. All right, so yeah, today we're going to be playing The Bouncer. I want to start off with the title movie. It does have a little bit of flashing. Anytime the title screen comes up in the future, I'm going to do my best to skip it before it actually does anything, but might as well start with the very first cutscene. They sure are trying to make this look exciting. Just put a lot of moving things on screen. Don't dwell too long on any given scene. Just keep moving. Keep pretending there's a lot of action. It's fine.
Keep pretending that guy's not just Sora from Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, we'll get to that.
And of course, we have the very first meme on the PS2.
The Bouncer.
Yeah. All right,
Lovely.
so this is going to be a new Game Plus, which is called Extra Game. Basically, the only thing that changes is, one, you get to keep your ranks from your previous file, but also the final boss has an extra form, which basically makes the entire thing an entire order of magnitude more troublesome. But we'll go into some more of the specifics of what does or doesn't change on New Game Plus as we go along.
Yeah, if anyone's looked at the leaderboard on speedrun.com for this, just new game, standard any percent is something like 25 minutes. And it does that by running the game as low level as possible, which makes the enemies easier because the enemies in this game scale with you. Bassett's save here is capped out because it's New Game Plus, so everything's going to be an order of magnitude harder.
You can feel free to start the timer whenever. It's cutscenes.
So what exactly is a solar power generator satellite? Well, we've prepared.
So they start us off with a very thrilling, definitely not going to be relevant at any point, tutorial on how satellite solar power conversion works. quote unquote.
To generate electricity.
It's kind of funny because since the last time we showcased this anywhere,
To microwave
there was actually a paper that was written on doing exactly this, and
the ground station.
for reasons that I can't determine, no government is willing to let this actually happen because no one can answer the question of what happens if the beam misses the receptacle on the planet's surface.
Question is, do we need such a costly
I mean, we've known what happens if the beam misses since 2000.
Yeah, the bouncer answered that
Spoilers.
question already.
Mikado Corporation is in charge of a major nationally funded public project. No details about the launch of the farm in revealed. We will keep an eye on this story.
So we start off on Dog Street in the bar, for which our main cast is are the bouncers, and this code question mark secret agent lady.
We arrived at the target coordinates.
And here we get a very, very good idea of a
Deploying assault units.
helicopter dropped ninjas that enter the scene by just crashing into a roof.
Look, you gotta have dynamic entry in an opening of a game like this. It's just a mandatory requirement.
But they're ninjas. They're literally ninjas.
I mean, not everyone can do a cold open by doing a handspring off of the top of a train.
Yeah. Nobody would be that bold, though. And not only do they just straight up enter with collateral damage, they then leave their apparatus behind. Why?
They also Naruto run.
Well, yeah, that's just ninja things.
We will be seeing some of this guy in the future, unfortunately.
We'll also be answering some very important questions, like, what if you combined the aesthetic of Sora with the edgelord factor of Squall?
Whatever.
And we'll also be answering questions like, why are you wearing this? We won't be answering that question.
We'll be asking it a lot, though. I think one of the more endearing things is just some of the clothing decisions that were made in character design.
Like this guy, you can't see it right now, but he has the best decal on his jacket.
He also has the world's longest pants.
And the spikiest forehead. His name is Volt Kruger.
What's with the sour face? You're scaring
I
away
mean,
the
just
customers.
his pants, though, his pant legs.
My job.
Yeah, he has like
Yeah.
excess pant leg all the way up to the knee, folded up.
Sure is weird weather for
Yeah, on his sleeve and on the back of his jacket, he has a cactar with a no over it, as in no escape. Because he's that much of a nerd.
Hi, boss.
Hey, Dominique, he's been waiting for you. Hurry up.
Wow, they really are bouncers at a bar. The title didn't lie.
Would this game have been better if just the entire time you dealt with rowdy bar customers and didn't have any of the other stuff happen?
Yes.
You're looking
You think so?
cool.
Yes.
It means we're doing just fine, right, Sion?
There are so many things that we wouldn't have had to deal with.
So here's Sion.
Yes, he's wearing a dog collar. Yes, he has a giant keychain with a dog and crossbones on it. He also has a dog on the back of his jacket.
Birthday?
Coat thing, whatever that is.
It's your shift.
I mean, if there's anything I've learned from working in the tech industry, it's that you gotta rep your employer at every opportunity.
Come to think of it, it was
He does rep Dog Street pretty hard, which is not the bar, but the street it's on.
Then that means today's your first anniversary as a bouncer.
How convenient. Exactly 1 year.
Here, I got this for you.
Here, it's a smaller version of the thing that you already have.
this.
What is that?
Oh, man.
A present.
He looks at it like, what's a present? Oh,
By the
ninjas.
way, ninjas.
Don't look too closely at Ko's face bones here. It's fine.
He's just melting a little bit. Don't worry about it.
Anyway,
So you're going to play through practically everything as Ko, right?
yeah. And let's get it started.
They're making their move.
So we're going to see a move here. It's the flying triple kick. We're going to be seeing this a lot because it's completely busted. You're also going to see a lot of ragdolling because everything ragdolls when they get hit.
Yeah, this looks like a brawler. It's closer to a bowling game. The main aim here is to get enemies in a position where if you knock one down, they'll knock everyone else down with them because they actually take damage when you do that.
Closer to a bowling game. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bowling game, except Ko uses his feet.
You use your feet in bowling, just not directly. I am going to do some of his other moves in certain situations, but 90% of the time, it's the flying triple kick.
You do have access to every move in the game because you have maxed out characters. A lot of these are unlockable moves that you don't have if you just start a fresh playthrough. But since this is New Game Plus, we're able to use some of the more interesting and broken moves right out of the gate. And conveniently, everyone you didn't pick gets the heck punched out of them.
Yeah. One of the, things I guess they considered replay value is whenever you pick a character for a mission, you get a unique voice line to start their mission off and then immediately afterward. But that is basically no value.
There is one segment in particular, two places really, where who you use actually matters as far as the cadence of the story and the reveals, and you're actually going to fork off and do all of the branching paths there because we're doing all the cutscenes, right?
Yep, somewhere around the middle of the game, there's a split section where each character has their own completely separate thing to do to get back to where it all syncs back up. And I have a save right at that point. I'm just going to play through each character's iteration of that segment.
Check on something for me. Yeah, I need to get into Mikado fast.
Some of them are somewhat more unique. Some of them are not.
I can't believe you let this happen. Hold on, I'm checking now.
Yeah, thanks.
There's a special.
It's been so long since I've seen anyone else's path, but if you play here as anyone but Ko, he just walks off to take this phone call and you don't see what he says, right?
Gotcha. We're taking off now.
I don't think this part is any different.
Okay. That does happen in the future, though.
Yeah, there are some parts where you just see that he is talking to someone and have no idea who or what is going on.
I mean, I still have no idea what's going on.
Me either. I've played this like 20 times.
No kidding.
I like these two where you have these loading screens, and more often than not, the loading screen is so fast you can't actually read the text.
Yep. I did not finish there. I tried, but I didn't get to the end.
Here's all this cool background information about how the characters got to where they are now in their life, but you're not going to get to see it. I couldn't even find a good dump of the information on game FAQs or something.
I don't think they're gonna let us through.
Bolt is incredibly happy that they're not going to let him through.
I hope you're ready for
pretty wicked smile from Kood to say, "I hate when I have to do extra work."
Yeah, same TBH.
I don't think he hates it. I'm pretty happy with that.
Let's check out this move, where we just completely expose our crotch to the enemy, which is completely safe to do for like 10 frames. There's the not flying triple kick, which is inferior to the flying triple kick because it is not flying. And then there's just let's just kick a whole lot, the skill.
So what you're saying is Ko is essentially just the character who does all the kicks.
Yep. He is the character that has reach and aggression and is therefore inherently better than the others.
Yeah.
And has some serious harong energy.
Yep.
I remember being
What is it?
a very small former version of myself and reading the write-ups on the bouncer in like PlayStation Magazine and how they were talking about Square's making a beat 'em up and it's going to revolutionize like the RPG beat 'em up hybrid genre that doesn't actually really exist. And it finally came out, and I don't think it really revolutionized much.
Yeah, it's funny to hear that because not terribly long ago we had another Square Enix game that was kind of hyped and then absolutely failed, which was The Quiet Man.
Oh no!
And that the runner Asuka, she was telling us that like it was the same kind of vibe. Everyone thought this was going to be a revolutionary change in gameplay, and it simply was not. It just wasn't.
I have some real spicy opinions about that game that I'm not going to get into here.
So in that last scene, we saw this random, like, shiny Black Panther. That's Sion's ex-girlfriend. We'll get into that later, though. Don't worry about it. So they tried to do a thing with the general story of this game where you kind of have the postmodern fantasy FF7 style thing going on, but they also tried to like interleave it with the general story structure of a traditional kung fu movie. They failed on that last part really bad.
I didn't expect such a warm reception.
It doesn't really come out until at least around the halfway point, but they tried really hard to have the kung fu movie growth arc and everything, and they just didn't make it. Also, this section coming up here is very interesting because we're on a unlisted time limit. If we defeat all the enemies in time, we get on the train and it's fine. If we don't defeat all the enemies in time, we get on the train and it's fine, but the scene is more exciting. I like that the punishment for failure is a more exciting version of the same result.
Well, that's just called dramatic tension.
So what do you think? Should I sandbag and see the more exciting version?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, let's just let this
All I
guy
had
punch
to
me
hear were
then.
the words "more exciting." So
Have your way, buddy. Okay, there we go.
It is kind of a shame, though, that you have the squad here, and you have Volt with the cactuar on his jacket, and you have Sion with the Dog Street logo on his jacket, and then Ko just has nothing.
He has tats, though.
Yeah, he does.
Like, none of this
we
happens.
all have to deal with it.
Like, none of this part happens if you just do the thing. It's just, they're on the train now. Everything was fine. Next scene.
Somehow.
Later on in this section, we get a very, very fun scene where you see the scraps of what was supposed to be this game having usable items. And it has a similar situation where if you do the thing you're supposed to do quickly enough, it just goes fine. But if you don't do the thing quickly enough, you still proceed the same way, but it's more exciting. But I'm going to do that one because just the animations in that scene are so precious.
That's a word for it. It is really good, though.
Roger.
You have these 3 really gruff bouncer dudes, and how do you imagine they would open like a toolbox or something? It's not how you imagine it would go.
In my mind, what I picture is I don't know if either of you have played the modern God of Wars, but like Kratos just kind of punches into a box and takes the thing out as opposed to like flipping the lid open. That's what I picture.
Yeah, or it could be like one of the Mana games where the protagonist just picks up the chest and slams it around a couple of times. But no, it's not like that either.
No.
No. So by the way, real quick, Ko is the dingus womanizer. He has some really not cool lines. I'm just gonna tell him to shut up when he says them.
It's the only thing you can do.
That's appreciated. That's
the right thing to do.
This is the time to get that one out there because I think the worst one is coming right after this.
Was that cutscene just for the transition between train cars?
Yes. They
Very
have to
good
load
use
a
of resources.
very slightly different but ultimately identical battlefield. It's important. 69,000 BP bouncer points.
Is that what it actually stands for?
Yes.
If you don't have a ticket, you're gonna have to pay. And this ride ain't cheap.
Where did you take Dominique?
So nice to see you again, Echidna.
Is that you, Volt?
Intrigue.
I thought I finished him off.
Indeed.
I think the true intrigue here is how does she get her hair to stay that way?
Now it's your turn.
A whole lot of product and training.
This time, I'll make sure I finish you off, along with your friends.
Because her name is Echidna, my headcanon is that Knuckles just grabs those parts of the hair and squeezes really tight. That's my headcanon.
Such a hottie. If only you kept your mouth shut.
Shut up, Ko.
Thank you.
No room
So
for
here's
that.
the first boss. She's she exists. This is one of the few bosses where I'm going to make sure I clean out the rest of the group first, instead of just going in hard, just because there's not a lot of space to work with.
Also, by the way, if you get knocked down, you ragdoll just like the enemies.
Yep. And your AI can just decide to be a projectile, and especially in little corners like this, it can get real bad real fast.
Volt seems to be a little confused. Maybe he's taking a coffee break. Your allies can just decide not to help you, or decide to help you and do it in the wrong way and just get in the way.
Yeah, a lot of times they just kind of stand there pretending to be looking for an opportunity. But there are a couple specific things where I'm going to be really, really glad they're there.
Such a babe if you weren't trying to
Namely the final boss.
It's not over yet. I'll teach you a thing or two about a woman's wrath the next time we meet.
They make fairly decent ablative armor as long as you don't stand in the right place to get hit by a ragdoll.
So it's like snowing. She just jumped in the river wearing basically nothing and is now way behind the rest of the group, who is on a moving train. What was the plan here? Speaking of
plans,
what was the
only
plan
anger.
here, welcome to this scene where our backup arrives, rather Ko's backup arrives, and his big plan, or her big plan, is to show up in a tech jet thing and shoot the train that we're on that's full of rocket fuel.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, no notes.
Why are you doing this? What do you gain? We beat all of the guards on this train already.
Okay, look. If you had a fighter jet and you had the opportunity to shoot a train full of rocket fuel, could you tell me that you would not take that opportunity?
You know what? That's fair.
Can't imagine it would come up a lot of times, so I might take the opportunity as
This
well.
thing's carrying rocket fuel. If it slams into the station, we're all gonna be a lot warmer.
Let's detach the last car.
Leanne, can you say overkill?
And she's still shooting it, by the way, while we're having this dialogue. She took out the brakes and she's not done.
Yeah, the entire time we were having that conversation, she was just holding the trigger down.
And she smiles. She's happy with this. Favorable.
Where are we going to get this car key?
It's probably in the engineer's cab.
Look, all I can say is she drank a lot of Pepsi to get the Pepsi points for that fighter jet. She's gonna use
Oh
it.
no. No.
Don't find one.
I just watched that documentary like a few weeks ago. Oh my gosh. So topical for me.
Alright, so are you ready for some exciting box opening?
Do it.
Oh, it's empty. Oh, you gotta be dainty. That one's empty too.
So gentle.
Hey, we found it.
And that
Better
awkward
look at it
stare
real close
directly at
and
the player.
gently tap it into the little spot. You know, we're not in any hurry. Just, you know.
It's not over yet. Brakes are still out of commission.
So you crash into this place regardless, but if you don't detach the cars, you're still fine. You still jump out of the train just fine, but there's a bigger explosion.
So the
Now,
key card
technically-
uncouples the car, right?
Yeah.
So you know what happens if you uncouple a train car at speed, right?
It stops. It's fine.
No.
Looks like I'm still alive.
Sharp. We're in Mikado's domain now.
Technically, it does change the upcoming section based on whether you decoupled the cars or not, because we're going into a rather long running down hallways section, and if you did not decouple the cars, there are closing shutters as well. Like these, but while you're running. And you know what? It doesn't make a difference. Nothing changes. You just keep running, and it's fine.
Let's push on.
Oh yeah, there's some really sick speed tech here.
I can't believe they're attacking us. It's really lovely job.
Yeah, so this is one of, I think, 2 sections with a rather interesting aspect to them, which is to say, the objective isn't kill all enemies, it's just get to the exit. So we're gonna do a little bit of this. You can just leave.
The slowdown is so funny. Like just the gentle walk around.
As they say, if it sucks, hit the bricks.
Wise words.
Safety first, for sure.
So there is technically a time limit on this section if you didn't decouple the cars, but it does not matter. Even if you fight this stuff, that only happens in like straight sections with no enemies. And how did you get in front of me? I left you behind like 1,000 feet ago.
Sion also hitting those guards with the link move from Smash Brothers.
Yep.
Probably also in the game, but I haven't played a lot of Zelda. I haven't played a lot of Smash either.
Sion has some very interesting moves. By interesting, I mean not very helpful. But his moves are more interesting than Volt's, because Volt has 8 moves, okay? How many of them do you think are throws that have the exact same startup as every other throw?
9.
9. I was gonna guess 5.
6.
Oh, I was close.
He has 2 usable moves that are not grabs.
He's just the reincarnation of Mike Hager. It's fine.
Like, sure, the grabs do different things, but like in a pinch, you can't rely on any one to be any better or worse than any other, because it's the same frame data for the grab. Anyway, we're done.
For a moment, I had flashbacks to Daggerfall there, where you just have a ton of guards chasing you, yelling halt.
An emergency exit.
Does it lead outside?
This is the only exit, man. We don't have much of a choice.
What makes Ko think this is the exit?
You gotta punch the warning button on the emergency exit.
It's not cool enough to press. You must punch.
Somebody has to be the one that can read the giant exit label. Anyway, that was not a very good exit.
Technically, you're outside now.
Yeah. Fortunately, we have these extremely convenient platform vehicles. No, this is not going to be a platforming segment.
Dang.
I know, right? I wish.
Air carrier. They must be looking for
Hoping
us.
to get our Mario on a little bit, maybe hit a couple of question mark blocks.
Into the fire, eh? What now?
That would involve this game having items, but that was one of the things that they cut when they had to make the deadline.
So should we just go up to them and
There used to be, like, you know, healing items in stages, and maybe weapons or something, but instead you just have nothing. Just enjoy your flying triple kicks and move along.
Yeah, a lot of this falling flat was largely a victim of deadlines and budgets and whatnot, because there was supposed to be a whole lot more in the RPG side of things here than just you get points and buy moves with them. And stats.
Yeah.
Also,
So
we
look
have
at
this
this real
completely
exciting
safe
background.
vehicle.
Yep,
And
definitely safe.
very boring actual battlefield.
I'm sitting here looking at the background to see if they're just reusing the same looped asset. It seems maybe, but I can't tell.
As far as I'm aware, that's just like a circular room that you're running around.
That adds up.
Tough job, isn't it?
And it's still going in this part.
Hey,
Yes?
keep flying this thing.
Yes, sir.
That part's kind of cute. I actually give him points for that one. Now, what would you do if all the people on your little carrier thing got the crap beat out of them and they just say, keep going? Do you, 1, keep going, or 2,
Dominique! Yo, driver,
Oh.
drop us off over there.
jump off because you have a parachute?
Ko's eyes are uncanny in that shot.
Volt, you scared him.
That was something. Oh my goodness.
You gotta have your parachutes when you're on your air carrier. You never know when you're gonna get attacked by 3 bouncers.
Hey, you passed it.
Damn it.
You passed it. Damn.
And then they
I
crashed and
tried my
died.
best. Yep.
Game over.
I want to know who designed this. 3 like corporate towers with a triangular balcony slung between them at the very top of the forest on it. Who thought of this?
Somebody with a lot more money than sense.
Just be grateful you're alive.
Yeah.
As evidenced by a lot of other things we'll be seeing throughout this game.
Dome. I'm sure.
Yeah, this is where things start getting really weird, by the way.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, it was pretty tame up until this point. Definitely understandable.
Oh, we haven't seen anything yet.
Slightly unfortunate bit here. We are going to be beating up some security dogs. But it's okay because they're cyborgs, question mark.
Fancy pets, eh?
I'm sure they're more than that.
Like I said.
You can tell they're cyborgs because they have these little weird metal backpacks on.
Find us.
I don't know what else to call that. Robotic platforms and red glowing eyes. You can tell they're evil.
Yeah, we're definitely going to go with cyborgs there, especially after the red glowing eyes.
By the way, more ninjas too.
Special
I really
forces.
question their wardrobe aesthetic choices.
Gotta be the place. Yeah, Dominique must be in
But that
Those are
applies to
definitely
everyone and
outfits.
everything in this game.
I hope we're not too late.
So what move do you think we're going to use on these dogs? That's right, we're going to expose our going to them.
I mean, to be fair, I don't think Ko has any other moves that will hit on the ground to be able to deal with these.
Yeah, so it's a because you have to situation.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta do that. You just have no choice. Nothing else you could possibly do other than just lift your leg up above your head and show yourself off to the enemy. Especially an angry dog.
I'm sure everything is fine with this.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. You mentioned items were cut before the release. I guess that I wasn't paying a lot of attention, but I guess that would mean that you automatically heal in between every battle.
Yeah, you start off every
Wow.
mission at full, and you have to do the entire thing with no healing, because that's all you get.
They're faster than those guys back in the city.
So we're coming up on the second boss here, and it's the head ninja guy from the intro. He's coming back.
I knew he'd be here.
Somehow we knew he'd be here.
How does it feel to have your woman taken away from you? I'll save her after I bust you up.
Your lips after
Oh.
that. What the heck?
This story goes.
This guy. We're gonna get into what the deal is with these ninjas.
Never get the girl back.
In Sion's part of the split section.
This guy's psycho.
All right, let's go.
You said it, Ku. You said it.
So this one, we're gonna find which of these is Mugetsu. It's you, and we're just gonna try to go in hard and not get punished too much by the 4 other ninjas.
Yeah, this is one of the situations where you go in on Mugetsu and you hope that Sion and Volt just kind of run interference for you, and if they don't, there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do but try to damage race it.
And we're done. The rest of them just give up, I guess.
All right, let's go save your princess, Sion.
This thing's pretty big up close.
I don't know how we're gonna get past this.
What could we possibly do to get across this gap? Oh yeah, that tree will definitely reach
Not
far
giving
enough.
up yet.
Please tell me he just punches it down. That
If
would feel
only.
appropriate.
How does this make it out to the thing? How do they get to there? How do they get across that gap from the top of the tree? You can't even jump that. Anyway, welcome to not Renoa, who is Sion's ex-girlfriend.
I thought you said the Panther was Sion's ex-girlfriend.
Oh yeah, I did say that, didn't I? Spoilers. She's the cat.
Wow.
Anyway, now we get Kung Fu movie time.
Wong, transfer Dominique to the Gallios. We will proceed according to plan.
But the satellite control center has not been repaired since yesterday's explosion.
What do you mean, Wong? Dominique has returned. It is now possible. But as Chief Executive Officer, I order you, Wong.
I beg to differ. My allegiance belongs to your predecessor. You are only using the Mikado Group to fulfill your own selfish agenda. What would Master Mikado think of your abuse? Please, for your sister's sake.
Then do you intend to stop me by force, Master Wong?
That's Duragan.
Why is that old geezer fighting him? Master?
Gasp. Duragon and Sion shared the same Kung Fu master? The intrigue.
In cultures, they say there's only one way to repay one's master, by surpassing him. This is my payback to you, Master.
Rude.
No!
Forgive me, Sion. Mikado must be stopped.
Master!
You must do it, Sion.
Master!
And now for the vengeance
I
arc.
see that you have studied under Wong. That would explain why you've been so difficult to deal with.
I'm avenging my master.
This is the important part where Duragon establishes that he's a big jerk.
She is my sister. I'm the one who will take her back.
What?
I should thank you for protecting her. Is there any way I can repay you?
Do you take me for a fool?
I guess
I take him for a
choice
fool.
But to fight you then. So be it. I'll show you how it feels to be utterly powerless. I will take on all three of you at once. I shall add another handicap as well.
So it's not completely clear what he means by this, but he's literally doing this fight with one hand tied behind his back.
You sure are confident, bastard.
Anyway, the cat's here too.
Yeah, I don't know how... He's flexing on how he can take all three of us with one hand behind his back, and then he calls in reinforcements.
Don't worry about it.
Anyway, the strategy here is ignore the cat.
This is more or less one of the last boss fights where you can just kind of punish them and they don't do much about it, other than try to hit back.
Oh no.
That was quite the ragdoll. Very impressive. Anyway,
For a moment I thought
gone.
you were going to space.
So, after this bit here, we're coming into the split section, but
Hand over Dominique.
there's a fair bit before we actually start the first one.
Apparently, I have underestimated you. But how about this?
How about I defeat you in cutscene so that you can't fight back? Please stop kicking me.
While it lasted, but I have other more pressing matters. As does Dominique.
Anyway, trap floor. This is how we get split up.
It is almost time, Dominique.
How proud of that shader on the cat do you think they were?
Extremely.
My
Anyway, I hope you're ready for exposition.
Oh dear, where are your mother and father? One moment. Doctor! Doctor! I'm sorry, the doctor's on a house call right now. You'll have to find another hospital.
Please! I don't have anywhere else to go! Please! Please save my sister!
Wow. The orphanage really failed this kid.
Are you all right?
How dare they not have any doctors available?
Good heavens.
This sounds like the kind of injustice that makes someone turn into a supervillain.
Yeah. Can you believe that? The gall of these doctors for being overworked.
Cannot believe there's not a doctor on duty inside an orphanage.
The truest tragedy.
Master Mikado wishes to adopt you as his son, under one condition.
Condition?
You must become worthy of inheriting the Mikado group.
And now he gets the help he needs, but he has to hold all these burdens of inheriting a giant company and doing well in school and training in martial arts under a pretty well-known master. Can you believe dealing with that kind of weight, that responsibility?
This sounds like the kind of thing that makes someone turn into a supervillain.
Yeah. I couldn't believe just having all that privilege shoveled onto me.
And you've matured into a young man in whom anyone would be proud. Your father will rest easy knowing that his legacy lies in good hands. From now on, you will lead the Mikado group.
Look at this heckin' Sephiroth/Cypher hybrid dingus. Like, it's not even subtle. Standing right next to absolutely just Renoa, but yellow. Anyway, they don't tell you this, but you're choosing your character for the split section here. We're gonna do Sion first. We're gonna do each of these split sections and then end with Koz and then just proceed from there.
Yeah, when we said we were doing the cutscenes, we are touring the cutscenes.
Basically, the only thing I'm not doing is going through all the endings, because there are 7 endings, and which one you get depends on which characters you use and in what quantities.
Yeah, how did you have it routed out? You had to do what was essentially 3 complete playthroughs to get all of the endings?
Yeah, basically how it works is...
Nice dragon punch.
Yeah, I'm remembering which is the good move, which is this one. Surprise, it's a kick. Surprise, it has a lot of reach and damage, and it's basically free.
Yeah, so like we'll dump on parts of this game quite a bit, but I at least find it very endearing.
Yeah, it's
that
not...
That tends to be a theme on this show as well. Games that are silly, but like are endearing to, at the very least, a person playing it, but mostly to other people too.
Yeah. It's not like a terrible game, it's just a really big letdown from what it could have been. And you can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the lost potential just leaks through the controller and into your hands. Anyway, welcome to Sion's Split section. It's a maze. There are a lot of repeat rooms here, but they are all unique. There are, I believe, 3 or 4 fights en route. Let's see if I can find the goofy one. Yeah, there we go. There's the move. Please walk into my fists. I'm trying so hard.
I'm gonna stand here and do this, and if you walk into it, it's your own fault.
Yeah.
Someday it might hit somebody. Never mind.
I think they're wise to your game.
What if we do this one instead, where we just lay low and keep kicking?
You get the feeling that before Sion was a bouncer, he might have been a breakdancer.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely getting that sense. Look at those moves.
He studied
core strength alone.
He studied most of his combat technique in Brazil.
All right, we can do the good move for the rest of it because they're all low. Or I can just keep getting hit in the face.
It's valid.
Combo. Wow.
It is a bit of a change up to be doing most of this game as Ko, and then suddenly, oh, you're Sion, and
it'll get even worse when I'm trying to play as Volt.
Yeah. Volt is my favorite character, just as far as aesthetics go, except for the pants. The pants are a problem, but oh, he does not gel with my style of playing beat-em-ups and fighting games at all. I don't play the big slow bruisers or the grapplers.
This is me hitting the flying triple kick button and being surprised when I don't flying triple kick. Oh yeah, look at these heckin' security droids. They're so good.
I like that they're just on wheels and just have this little slot in the front that opens up and then blades come out. Like,
so it's kind of hard to quantify until you're doing a section solo, but the general interference of the fact they exist of the rest of your party is a really big boon. Please walk into my foot, thank you.
Please walk into foot.
good camera angle.
Yeah.
Good camera angle.
Very good.
Holy heck.
I believe we need to... Is there an elevator at this point? No. This just happens sometimes at this point, because...
You get turned around during the camera shenanigans.
You end up in at least 2 rooms that are exactly like this. Unfortunately, this time there's only one that actually works.
Yeah, I had worried that when the camera couldn't keep track of where you were, it had actually spun around when you couldn't see it happen.
Yeah, that happens more than I would like to admit. Neom camera. They tried. They really tried. They didn't make it, but they tried.
They got halfway through designing this and then said, hey, what if this did Resident Evil camera?
If I can get some good ragdolling here. Nah, they're fanning out. They're wise. There we go.
There we go. Picked up a good split there. It, like the 1-4 split because there's only 4 guards, but yeah. Oh, there we go.
Now we bully the little friend.
You say it's a friend, but this thing has violence in its camera.
Oh, don't worry. There's way more violent robots later. This
This
one,
thing rolled out of the charging port and chose violence. It gets what it deserves.
this one was taking a nap, and I just came up and kicked it in the camera. I'm not used to seeing an 8x combo like that. Oh, by the way, it's Sion's X again.
So shiny.
By the way, she can phase through walls. How? I don't know. Don't ask me. We're coming up to the lore dumpster, and it has a note on her, and it doesn't explain any of it. Well, it kind of explains some of it, but it doesn't explain the cat.
So the entire point of this entire section was to get Sion on the internet. He just really needed to check his tweets.
So here's how the ninjas work. They have received the robotomy surgery. That is what they called their cyborg implants.
Robot.
Why?
Oh, gosh.
And here's a spoiler for the next boss.
This will never be relevant, I'm sure. Oh wait, never mind.
And here's another friend robot. Here's the dog. And here is Chaldea.
Chaldea? Chaldea?
So basically, what happened is Chaldea...
Oh no.
I forget if she died or not, but she was experimented on here and
On humans?
was cloned. The clone, because of the drawback of the present technology, her body's cells were aged approximately 10 years, and that's why she looks way older and out of Sion's league. Uh-oh, password. We're in trouble now.
What's this A2 project? I need a password? Damn it!
No, punch the monitor. They can't read that.
I count myself lucky that if I typo a password, someone doesn't come running into my room and just punches my monitor out. Really good
Everything
security,
is solved
though.
by violence.
So how long do we have in this section? A couple of minutes?
Yeah, there's one more fight and no more hallwaying.
Oh, here's the cat, by the way.
I was thinking we could finish this one, do Volt split section because it's pretty quick, and then do one of our 2 breaks.
Alright.
Hi, stop it. So here's Sion's fighting low enemies strat.
That's a lot more effective and a lot less likely to go wrong than Ko's.
Yeah. However, the frame data is terrible. But what else are you gonna do, right?
Enemies have iframes from the moment they start to stand up, and they last well into after you think you should be able to hit them.
Yes. Fortunately, this also applies to you, but it's still... They still have a very uncanny ability to be there at just the wrong time. Like, be in the middle of hitting your face as it becomes vulnerable. Fortunately, I can do that too.
I'm excited though, because as we start Volts, split of this, you get a really good just scene that shows how over the top his pants hems are.
Who is this person that looks exactly like my ex but 10 years older? I'd never read anything that could possibly explain this.
Sion doesn't read.
What was that all about?
Huh, that was weird. Anyway. Dominique. So we're going to be seeing a scene here. We're going to see it 3 times from 3 different perspectives because this is where the paths converge.
How's my knight in shining armor?
Oh,
by the way, Mugetsu's still here.
again.
Yes.
Pay for that!
Sion, I thought I told you to stay sharp.
That hurt really, really bad, Volt. Oh?
Now, why is Code dressed up like that?
Spiffy in that outfit, Cole.
It does look
Someday
pretty
we'll find
spiffy,
out.
though.
We'll never find out.
Well, looks like we got our team together. Don't make me angry! You wouldn't like me when I'm angry!
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. I don't like you now.
I don't care if I on my mind!
Yeah, I didn't need to wait until you were angry.
He's deep in the robotomy juice.
Dominique's right here. You think I plan on losing you now?
So once we have control again, we're going to bounce back out to the main menu and switch to doing Volt's arc through here, just so we can show off all the cutscenes.
The Bouncer.
You see what I did there? Bounce out of here.
Mm-hmm. I was trying not to acknowledge it.
Yeah, we were all on board. No, we heard it.
Okay, so about skipping cutscenes in this game, how many times do you think I have to skip cutscene to get from the start of this exposition section to continued gameplay? 2,
5,
3, 4, 5, 6,
dang,
7. Skip cutscene 7 times to get through one section. Oh dear. So everything just crashed.
Oh, fun. Cool. That's good.
So I think now's a good time to
do the
take
break
that
instead
break.
then.
Yeah, let's do the break here. That's a great idea. So for everybody out there, we are still going to be continuing on with some of our The Bouncer action. Don't worry, but we're going to go ahead and pause the timer so that everyone here can get a nice little break. They can stretch, they can practice their triple jump kicks or whatever they need to do. And we will see you back here in just a few short moments. All right, welcome back to Awfully Silly. Specifically, the episode where we're focusing on the Bouncer, and we're doing a new game plus cutscene showcase following the coup line for primarily. Before we jump back into the Bouncer action, of course, just wanted to go over a few announcements. Namely, if you happen to be watching over on YouTube, be sure to press the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Additionally, you can go on over to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick if you're interested in looking at our live content. That's going to start weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern and weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. And additionally, your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ Twitch channel help support Games Done Quick Hotfix content, so please consider subscribing if you enjoy the daily speedrunning content. Appreciate it. But without further ado, we had a little "that's never happened before" moment with the crash here, but I'm very excited to see what the Volt side of things has us looking like. So, Facet and Trizon, why don't you go ahead and take it away for us?
All right, welcome back. And let's get back into it. Hopefully now with increased stability.
Sometimes your capture rig just gives up. It's fine.
I'm sure it's happened to all of us.
Yeah, so...
This is what I was talking about, though. Volt's pants are like 3864s or something.
Yeah? Anyway, welcome to the Metal Gear Solid torture scene.
He just decides to nope out of it.
So Volt's section is a little different from Sion's in that you run down a lot of hallways and fight a lot of enemies, but there's no like branches or paths or anything. You just go down the line.
Volt's entire moveset is grapples and throws.
Yes.
Which is not great when you're solo.
At least we have this. Yeah. See if I can remember which the other non-throw is. Yeah, headbutt. Perfect.
I mean, he's got the spikes. He might as well use them.
Or it's not reliably going off, so let's just do a spin.
The spinning lariat punch, time-honored. You know what? I don't even know. It's a thing you can do.
Looks like nothing's changed.
Why does he have horns? Personal style choice, I think, is the main theory there.
It's like the extra edgy version of piercings.
I mean, I know some people who have very similar body mods, so yeah.
The main benefit of this move is when you're in groups, the ragdolling is pretty free. You can get some good strikes, like bowling strikes. Unfortunately, I've never taken Volt very seriously, so you won't be seeing any great wombo combos from me. Anyway, back on the linear path, got more ninjas.
How nice of the ninjas to all funnel toward you into this narrow area where you can ragdoll them into each other.
Something inverse property of ninjas.
Yeah, very much so. There is some awareness in the level design and the enemy encounter design and everything, though, because you have Volt, who... This is one of two moves he has that's not a throw, and he's just probably the ragdoll master. So a lot of the encounters with these... good. A lot of the encounters here are just these funneled in areas where you get a swarm of guys coming at you, and then you can just do the ragdoll shenanigans.
Now check out this non-linearity. There's a 10-foot dead end. This is the door I'd like to be going into, however, it is locked by the presence of ninjas. Robotomized ninjas.
We will be learning more than we want to know about these ninjas very shortly.
Uncomfortable amounts of information about the ninjas. Alright, get back up. So the main problem with Volt, the moves he has don't actually do much damage, and they force a knockdown, so there's no chain ability. There's basically no chain ability in this game anyway, other than if you're lucky, you can hit someone that's in the process of getting floored by someone else. That's about it.
Someone was definitely here.
A monitor has been punched out.
Yeah. What about these papers?
A report?
It's definitely C on here because none of this was read.
Echidna.
Welcome to a familiar hallway. However, now absent of cat ex-girlfriends. And welcome to a familiar scene, but different.
Different, but
Ah, yes. I do remember this. I am capable of recalling things that have happened in the past.
So normally, you'd only be seeing these different perspectives on completely different runs of the game. And if you're me, you don't even remember what it was like the other time because you have the short-term memory of a goldfish. Or I guess in this case, medium-term memory.
That hurt really, really bad, Bolt. Ho?
You look pretty spiffy in that outfit, Co.
Yep, still spiffy.
Well, looks like we got a team.
I like how he just had his normal clothes on under that.
Of course.
I don't care if I destroy my
You can tell Mugetsu is serious because he takes the scouter off.
This guy's lost his mind.
But before we get into that, we got to do my favorite of the three branching paths here.
Welcome to one of two sections of the game that aren't just running around punching things. The other one was opening locked boxes.
This will
Remember
be more
that
exciting.
Excitement. This one's at least something.
Yes.
Crystal Dome. And now we get to skip cutscenes 7 times in a row.
I was expecting more.
I was not expecting more. I was expecting exactly 7 because I already know. The reason I do co last is because it's this makes sure that the file, as far as the game is aware, is still 100% co for that one of the 7 endings.
Smells like a sweat sock in here. Of all the places they could have thrown.
How did they all fall down the same trapdoor and end up in such distinct places anyway?
I don't know. They all like recover from unconsciousness, so presumably they got moved. Because if Volt just fell into a bunch of poorly screwed on restraints, I would be surprised.
Okay, but maybe that trapdoor just leads into like the world's largest Plinko board and then they all bounce in different directions.
You know what? That's fair. Anyway, welcome to the stealth segment.
Such as it is.
We get to try to blend in. How do we blend in? By posing, of course.
What were they thinking when they designed these outfits?
You also get the best song in the game. So here's how it works. We've got face buttons. We have 4 different poses.
They imply that these all mean something, but in truth, all you have to do is mimic what the guard does.
Everything's under control.
Yeah, there are basically 3 levels to this, and each one is more ridiculous than the last.
There is one of the 4 signals that is described as basically eliminate everyone in the area, and if you ever use that one, you will instantly anger the person you use it in front of.
Mm-hmm.
Shocking.
It's basically, please fail me. I want to fight instead.
It's all clear on our side.
So it's essentially the most fancy memory game. Remember which of the 3 buttons do what.
Yep.
Pretty much.
But you'll see very soon they start to mix it up, shall we say.
This man will not stop.
Come on.
We passed. We go to the left. You don't lose for messing this one up, you just get sent to the right. What does that change? Basically nothing.
You showed it off, though.
Anyway, welcome to the roulette, I believe is this one.
Good luck, jerk.
Basically, while he's doing one of the animations, you hit the same button and then it'll land correctly.
I think that gave me a couple gray hairs.
And now level 3. Not actually as hard, but... So this one you have to initiate. So you pick the one that means don't hit me, basically. Everything's cool, don't worry about it. In this one, they just do 2 different poses, so you hit them in rapid succession, and you're good to go. And that's it, I believe.
Yep.
Colefo, super spy.
Super spy.
Super
you know, as you do.
Hey, did you hear that no one's being allowed on the executive floor?
Yeah, I heard they took some kind of top secret cargo up there.
Sounds like trouble to me. It might be a good idea to stay away from there.
And now they're just talking and not doing handshakes. Because it would be convenient for them to spill beans that way.
That's how security protocol works. You get people doing it at the very onset, and then people get bored and burned out on it and just go, it doesn't matter.
Are you ready for quote-unquote comedy?
I genuinely don't think I am ready.
You ever just have your cell phone go off in the middle of a stealth mission?
Yes, actually, I have.
All right, Pepsi Man, what's your response?
Pepsi Man.
You must deliberate on this for a moment. I get the feeling this is the kind of thing where you know right away
Thumbs
if you
up.
believe the person or not.
That was way too close. I'd better shut off the comm for now.
Oh yeah, they definitely didn't see him. It's fine.
No way.
And I'm not entirely sure they see anything.
Just fit in, walk really silly when everyone else is walking normal. That makes it normal. This is a Metal Gear silly.
Very good.
Welcome back to a familiar hallway.
How's my knight in shining armor?
And welcome back to a familiar scene. Save Sion or get Dominique out of there.
Better get Dominique while I still can.
I think I'll take option C, get yeeted like a javelin by Volt.
You know, that's fair.
Wait, it's me.
First person.
I think it would really suck, but also be kind of amusing if you started the segment after this with Ko at half health.
Yeah, that would be cute. That would involve them being able to code more than you start at full at enter stage.
You look pretty spiffy
Yeah.
in that outfit, Ko.
Whatever. Well, looks like we got our team together. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
All right, Bruce Bummer, let's get it over with this time.
These are very good. Bruce Bummer, come on.
Now we actually go forward.
You lose your cool, you lose the battle.
This is one where I'm going to try to focus the boss down again, but it's actually really tough because this is a surprisingly cramped room for 5 enemies and 3 allies.
This is where you have to start considering maybe you should disengage from the boss and take on some of the trash enemies. They seem to be occupying themselves with Sion and Volt, though.
Actually getting a little beat up here, but Mugetsu's almost done, so...
I don't think we covered it. How do you actually choose your target to lock onto?
It's whatever you're closest to. You don't aim at anything. You will just automatically attack whatever is the nearest thing as far as what the game thinks.
Dominique. Dominique.
Dominique. Dominique. Dominique. Dominique. Dominique. Okay, there we go.
She's got uncannily large eyes, kind of like Ko did in that one scene.
Yeah, it's pretty unnatural, I think. I'm sure it's fine.
Getting me in trouble. You had me worried.
This is the first time you ever hugged me.
Well, this is awkward.
I don't mean to intrude, but could we save the love scene for later?
Thanks, Ko.
Yeah, we have to get out of here first.
Sorry. Let's get going.
You gotta have one thanks code to set off to offset the like 2 or 3 shut up codes.
Maybe if we head for the rocket
Someone in chat pointed out that no one in this game is wearing a functioning shirt, and I'm realizing how true that is.
Who needs real shirts?
Theon, I hope it doesn't take a turn for the worse.
There are intruders in the rocket tower. Switch all robots to security mode. The intruders are headed for the shuttle area.
Damn. Security's tighter than I thought.
With all 4 of us together, we stand out like a sore thumb.
So the sometimes shutters section is the worst section in the game as far as like most pathetic. This one is the worst section in the game in terms of most annoying.
One of us will escape with Dominique. The other 2 will draw away the guards.
So this is an escort mission.
You love a good escort mission.
It is like 6 screens long. You have 1 health bar, and Dominique has 1 health bar for the entire thing. And you don't have to kill any of the enemies, so you just run through. However, the main thing that makes it annoying despite that is there's at least twice where you spawn into one of the sections, and the path that's immediately visible to you is a dead end that you won't realize is a dead end for like a minute. And you actually have to curl back around under the stairs you came in from.
I promise.
You too, Volt.
We'll see if I remember which ones are which, and if I,
Yes, my brave knight. I place my fate in your hands.
if I fall victim to the time waste. The problem with just skipping everything is sometimes they will actually punch Dominique, but it should be fine. I've never actually been punished for not bothering here.
As long as you make it to a load trigger, she will just catch up to you.
So this was one where there's a path you can see to the left, and there's one you can't see to the right, and the right is progress. I entirely blame the camera. I do kind of like this track, though. Like, the part where it does the bells makes me think of, like, Final Fantasy Tactics or some nonsense. Nope, this was not a double back room. I'm getting ahead of myself, because there's still one more, but I think it's the last room. Ow. No?
Do you ever just get punched by the Asimov robot?
Okay, I don't know how I didn't see this last time. Wait, no. It's just a different angle. I don't know how I didn't see this part last time. I blame the camera again.
It's a pretty solid thing to blame.
Yes, this... If you are actually trying to fight everything on the way through, so you're trying to level up your characters, this is by far the hardest fight in the entire game. Yeah, you've got this radius of, I'm in combat mode, I'm going to move very slowly around the target, and then your free running mode, which is just, there's nothing near. And one of the things that's annoying about the speedrun is, like, the real speedrun, is you have to be very careful about engineering the way enemies move to be in that adjacent mode as infrequently as possible.
I watched a speedrun of Phantasy Star Online the other week. And when they do that, they have the same adjacent in combat mode where you move slower, but they get around that by just having the on-screen keyboard open the entire run.
Oh my gosh.
At least you don't have to do that.
Ko and Dominique alone. Surely this will go swimmingly.
Huh? What is it?
You think it's okay for me to stay with Sion? I don't like this place. ran away from here, and that's how I was able to meet Sion and all of you. The bar's in shambles because of me.
As long as we avoid the worst, it should be okay. No worries, Princess. Even though the boss looks cheap, he's got a sizable fortune. It's all good. Ever since you arrived, Sion's been opening up to us too, thanks to you.
Okay, that was actually fine.
You mean Ko managed to open his mouth and not say something completely horrible?
Yeah, I know, right? It's weird.
It's shocking.
Yeah, wow.
I think we have to get on that one.
Oh yeah, there's a bar. These people are bouncers. Remember that, because we haven't been reminded of that in about 80 minutes.
Hello,
oh, by the way, here's
that
this
I
guy.
read about in the lore books.
Uh-huh. I believe the project name for this one was Dingus McNoodle Arms.
Yep. Well, she's dead.
No, don't!
Do not worry. I simply put her to sleep.
Oh, okay.
Now, allow me to put you to sleep. Herman.
Oh. Damn it. Snazzy. What a burn.
I'm gonna pound the life out of it before it
Sick
tries
burn, sick burn.
You're going to have to deal with the three of us.
3 on 1. Those are acceptable odds.
Uh-huh. Whatever you say. You're definitely not the biggest joke of all the bosses.
Flesh and blood over here.
So after making that big deal about splitting up to not draw attention, everyone went the same way anyway, and what, 1,000 feet later met back up?
Mm-hmm. This is a very difficult boss. I've employed a very deep and complicated strategy of flying triple kick.
It just looks like all of his moves have a ton of wind-up frames, so he gets up and tries to do literally anything, and you just kick him again.
Yeah, the main problem is he doesn't defend himself ever. He always goes immediately into trying to hit you. Therefore, he just gets creamed over and over and over. By the way, there are 5 of them now.
There's more of them.
I think in reality they were just built to form a boy band or something. Like that hair, and there being 5 of them, and they move in unison.
Downstream.
Oh, by the way, there's a satellite. We're gonna find out what it does.
Have you ever just screamed loud enough that a satellite heard you?
I don't know if I'll ever know if I did, to be... becomes very obvious to me.
I think you would know. Just,
Yeah, probably.
you know, when your face opens up and all the robot parts activate.
Good indicator.
And then you just go into destroy everything mode because you're actually a death robot somehow. Oh, by the way, there's like 30 seconds of choreography in this game. It's all right here.
In their defense, it's well choreographed.
Yeah. And now it's over. And now she's overheating. So much for 4th playable character opportunity. Can't have that.
Dang.
She's been activated. You bastard, you're still alive? Of course. But right now I must bring the girl to the giant shuttle Gallios where Master Duragon is waiting. I'll finish.
Oh yeah, Duragon.
No!
That was Dominique?
So, about how many more missions do you think we have in the game?
Oh,
like percent,
7.
how far are we?
Oh, percent?
Form Vault. Duragon, the present CEO of
60.
who lost her battle.
More like 80, 85.
Oh my goodness.
It's basically just a boss rush from here on.
Oh, this game is just short, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was a personal guard to the previous Mikado.
Like, I'm pretty sure every mission from here on out is we refight something we already fought before as a slightly harder version of a boss fight.
No wonder you know so much.
Like, Facet is familiar with the game and knows what to do, but we have also padded the game out by taking multiple split segments and going out of our way to view cutscenes you wouldn't normally see in a standard playthrough. It's just a really short game.
They were going
Also-
for replayability in doing loops to level up your characters to the max and seeing different endings and stuff, but even if you go and even if you don't know how to get all the endings and put a lot of work into doing it, you'll probably be done in like 10-15 hours. Most of it just repeating the game to try to get something different to come out.
Yeah, so I mentioned before that this is a New Game Plus playthrough with all the characters maxed out. If you were to just buy this from the, GameStop or whatever one of those ancient things is, it's a building full of games that you exchange money for. You bring it home, you put it in your PlayStation 2, and you boot it up. You get a far easier version of the game than this because the enemies scale to your character level. So even just a brand new player playing this for the first time would have a far easier game and would probably also take about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
I forgot, there's one fight with the Black & Decker robots before it's all bosses from then on.
Black & Decker. Had to get the corporate sponsorship in there, huh?
Yeah, they were doing it well before Final Fantasy 15. It wasn't nearly as successful as Cup Noodles, though.
It's funny, like everyone goes in on Cup Noodles on that, but that was by far not the only product placement in there.
I think the most egregious one is Coleman, by far. Because it's plastered all over every inch of every camp scene.
Congratulations! Who would have ever thought you'd make it this far?
Oh, by the way, the Echidna's back.
PD4 are out of the picture. I shall become #1. Once I defeat all of you.
Sorry, but we don't have time to play with you right now.
I've had enough of your mockery. You haven't changed at all. Ever since you became a special agent, you've been ordering me around. I'm not letting any of you get near the Gallios!
So, Ko is an undercover agent. Volt was bodyguard for Mikado Group, and Sion worked under, trained under the same master as Duragon. So they went really hard on everybody's like more in on it than they seem. In like a tight knit everything matters kind of part of the whole martial arts movie aspect. But it just feels like it's all out of nowhere. It just kind of happens and has no work or payoff to it.
Echidna is not exactly a pushover here either. He's being cooperative right now, but...
Yeah, if you don't separate her well, the Black & Deckers can be a huge problem. Like this. Fortunately, it's over.
Yeah, she just kind of did her little dance fighting thing to separate herself from the robots and then just never rejoined them.
Now tell us where the Gallios' hangar bay is.
Too bad. Launch preparations should be done by now.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Get ready for a very long scene where they just showcase all the different angles they made on this one model, along with the worst song in the game.
I can only imagine that they paid top dollar for some kind of render farm for this scene, and they wanted to make sure they got their money's worth.
So while we're sitting here staring at this model, how's everybody's day going? It's been a good run so far, having fun, a lot of good cutscenes.
I'm having a blast. I'm personally having a blast. I have I've watched this this run once before, but it's always good to get some reminders of things, and yeah, it's been a very I've been laughing quite a bit. So.
I think we're about halfway done with this scene.
This was pretty top tier 3D graphical work in the, the era of 2000.
Yeah, this is them like showing off their ability to utilize it as a PS2 launch title. This is kind of tech demo-y for a scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing in chat that somebody had mentioned that this could have been tech demo-y for Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
This model in particular is very emblematic of the cutscene quality that's all through 10. And now that's finally over.
We're too late?
We're too late. Well, I mean, you stood there and watched it.
It's bigger than I thought.
What's keeping her? We need help now.
Yeah, you'll always be late if you're just standing there watching.
Yeah. Fortunately, Leanne is here to help again, and hopefully she doesn't just shoot everything.
This may be once. Well, maybe shooting that down wouldn't be the right call because Dominique is on it.
So you know what the cool thing is about spaceship model? You don't have to animate basically any of it. You can just have one big piece and just move it, and that's your entire... It's perfectly believable. For these ships, all they need is the muzzle flash, and everything else is fine.
I could make an argument that if you have enough attention to detail here, you could, like, twinge on the fact that these don't engage in thrust vectoring and don't have, like, working flaps or anything, but for the most part, you're right.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
As far as, like, what they bothered doing, this was all they needed to do. Yeah, we're still shooting that shuttle.
Leanne wants the impossible. Well, as they say, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Okay, let's get going. How?
Ko has a plan. I'm horrified. Oh.
Think we can catch it with that?
Oh boy, an air carrier. That's definitely not shaped like a battle arena, where we'll definitely not have to fight someone. Just like last time we got on one of these. This is definitely fast enough to catch up with a space shuttle. You know, just get on out there, it's fine.
Oh yeah, this has some specific airboat-like qualities, doesn't it? I forgot that was a thing. I'm glad to be reminded of it. Oh, it's you again.
Hi, Mugetsu. This time it's Mugetsu featuring, he has a mouthful of cheese.
It's Mugetsu.
And it's kind of gross.
Oh, what is that?
I don't know what they were going for here.
Who's gonna pilot this thing?
So here's an interesting thing. You pick your character here. This is the person that's not going to participate in the fight.
Yeah, you're picking who's driving right now.
You guys deal with Mugetsu.
I can't wait to butcher all of you!
Absolutely no
showing
real
that.
indication of that, but
Any way you look at it, you're going to hell.
So this is actually a relatively difficult fight. Woo.
Lost.
Because he has some moves that are just absolutely nonsense. Like, he has the ability to just spin around like a donut. And he can just shoot like a rocket. Come on, do the donut move. I'm not gonna, like, stop and let him do it, because...
he might just opt to kill you, so...
yeah.
Oh, right. The javelin lunge. For a brief moment, I thought the physics had decided to just say no to you.
I wish. Then I could be free.
I mean, say what you will about everything else about this game, it is incredibly solid from the perspective of, well, Rip Mugetsu, first of all.
Yeah, somebody is not very solid anymore.
He's exhausted.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll come back again.
I don't think so. It's an incredibly solid game from just the aspect of it, the physics behaving well, and it's not really being all that glitchy.
Let us begin, Dominique.
Yeah.
We will start with that accursed.
Yeah, I would not have expected it as, like, solid as it is.
It's mostly the AI that's kind of rough, particularly Ally AI. It's going to start being relevant once we get to the final boss, because 100% of your lever to not just get wrecked by the boss every time is your ability to bait the boss into attacking the allies and then punishing the opening. That's going to be fun. Anyway, the satellite is also a deadly laser. Remember that orphanage? How dare they not have doctors on hand?
You know,
several years ago.
I don't really care what vendetta you have with an orphanage, but what kind of particular self-defeating even jerkus do you have to be to destroy an orphanage?
Another one of Dorgon's pets.
It's like, even from the perspective of, I get it, you're evil, you want to just inflict fear on the world. Blowing up an orphanage is just really bad for your PR.
Yeah. So we're fighting the Panther again, but also the Panther can go into a more vulnerable state. That's basically it. Like, wow, sometimes she can opt to go into a state where I can use my better move on her instead of my worst move. Cool stuff.
Okay, but if you could be a panther that could just phase through walls, why would you ever not?
And that's over with.
I guess that whole opposable thumbs thing has a benefit.
Yeah. So how was that for a penultimate battle? Exciting, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Someone
riveting.
very important to me. But
It still has not clicked for Sion that this is his ex-girlfriend.
Let's go get Dominique.
Even though he read the reports.
So you won't have to suffer through any of this.
Sion doesn't think.
All right.
It's like, wow, here's this report about a clone of a person that has aged up 10 years, and yet here's this person that looks like my ex-girlfriend who's aged up 10 years, even though she's supposed to be dead. It couldn't possibly be a clone. One of the endings, the ending variants, is she comes back and just explicitly lays it all out, and Sion's still like, I don't get it.
With this satellite, I will provide
I aspire to be that oblivious.
and I will demonstrate what happens to those who cross.
Yeah, I guess there's something freeing about that just massive lack of awareness.
Yeah.
So typically when you fight the final boss of an RPG or practically any video game, they have multiple forms and they tend to get more powerful as they progress from form to form, and they get more more evil, more grotesque. Maybe they get more muscular or bigger. Duragon doesn't buy into that. We'll see what he does, but Duragon is our final boss here.
Yeah, so mechanically, the way this fight generally works is the first phase is very defensive, and he will block and then punish you for attacking at the wrong time, and it kind of sets the stage for how the rest of your fight is going to go, because you have one set of health bars to go through all three forms, and it's kind of really grueling.
Yeah, that is 3. If you just play through this game from the start, you only get 2 forms for him, but if you do New Game Plus, you get 3. And you have 1 health bar for all 3 of them.
So 100% of the strategy here is back off, let him attack your allies, and then punish him while he's recovering.
He's got one particular move, and it's a sort of a purple flaming dragon punch that will just instantly break anyone's guard and do a metric butt ton of damage to them. That's what you don't want to see out of him.
Fortunately, that one is not a first form move, because basically what happens is every form, he gets a little less defensive and a little more dangerous, but that also makes him generally easier to punish with every iteration.
That's the first form, and now he's going to power up.
Not many get to see me break a sweat.
And he already started without having a hand tied behind his back, so how is he going to, like, power himself up even more?
Tying both hands behind his back.
He's just going to throw his coat off.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so he's just mad about having to live up to so much expectations, like, you know, having the best independent schooling possible, being heir to a giant corporation, you know, being a privileged white man. It really sucks, you know, you really got to get into his shoes here.
Oh, man.
I mean, I don't know. I think he's just mad that he rolled into this wearing these, like, weird leather overalls. Like, what is that? That was clean.
Yeah, sometimes that just happens where he deliberately puts himself in a corner and your allies actually get into position to box him in, then you can just punish him down. But that is a rare gift.
That's where the game would normally end, but because we're doing New Game Plus, we have a third phase here. And he already threw the coat off. What's he going to do now?
Good. I never expected anyone to push me so far.
This is their last chance to try to make it feel like a kung fu movie, where the villain stops caring about what he cares about and just becomes a fighter for fighting's sake. And now he gets a dragon tattoo and pulls off the suspenders.
Fortunately, there isn't a fourth phase.
There's nothing left to sacrifice clothing-wise.
Not in keeping the rating the game has, anyway. So this is where he can just decide to break your guard and take half of your health, and he has this purple flaming dragon punch and a kick that has like purple flames on it. He started one of them, And Facet punched him out of it, fortunately. We can see Volt and Sion doing what they do best, standing there doing nothing.
Yeah, they're not doing the whole help me bait the boss into getting punished thing. I've kind of just been relying on the boss's general proclivity to be easily punished in general, but he's not having it.
Yeah,
So
if
I'm
you
just
try to
gonna-
initiate on Duragon, he will just block and punish you. You have to wait for him to whiff something.
He started doing his power move, and I just...
Yeah,
Okay,
he just said no.
thanks,
Is
Volt.
he's down. Wow. That was
Shout out to
extremely
Volt.
clean.
Yeah.
But we're not
So-
quite done yet.
Yeah. Because of the specific ending we're on, we get one more bonus boss after the ending.
Shoutouts to the test of your reflexes.
Good. Yeah, one thing I never remembered to explain is how the defense stat works in this game.
Dominique!
And what makes Duragon so dangerous in general. So, the way blocking works is when you're blocking, you are completely immune to all damage, but instead you take the damage to your defense meter. And once it runs out, you can no longer defend for the duration of the match.
I was dreaming that I was killing.
You can block, but you're just gonna get hit. You're vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Now-
Duragon's power moves just delete your entire defense gauge if you try to block them.
Mm-hmm. And he super abuses the fact that each form has its own massive defense meter, which is why you can't rely on defending, because you only have one defense meter for all three forms, and he can just defend all day. So you have to come up with something different than trading blows.
I'm sending this dispatch because I know you guys are alive. The Gallios is programmed to separate once it gets near the satellite. The front section will separate from the aft portion and dock with the satellite.
Aft.
The aft portion is designed to return to
The aft
Earth.
portion.
If you can hear me, get your butts to the rear of the shuttle.
Get your butts to the rear of the shuttle.
Taking control of the Mikado building. Pry the information from the scientists.
Get your afts over there.
It's not the time for 20 questions. We gotta get to the rear of the
Section will
shuttle.
separate from the aft portion and dock with the satellite. The aft portion is designed to return to Earth. If you can hear me, get your butts to the rear of the shuttle. I repeat.
Yeah,
So I don't know
Dominique is
why-
still not aware of her nature as a robot. She passed out and lost her memory of that little interaction, and Sion has chosen not to tell her.
Yeah.
Which seems weird because I can think of a number of things that will now result that will force her to learn of that fact.
Like being a robot that doesn't age, being with someone who is not a robot that does age.
Well, that's gone.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what the point of the shuttle to the satellite was, because I'm also not sure what the point of it separating was, because it crashes into the satellite as a result of losing its controller, but I don't know what the purpose of the return half was. Also, this is what it's like to be in space. You just kind of float there and it sucks.
Kind of float there.
I think it was all there for just the intrigue and the spectacle of it all. They just
Yeah.
kind of gave up and went with the rule of cool.
Honestly, I'm not sure why they were going to the satellite in the first place.
Good job. A nice
You get Dominique back.
waiting for you back home.
I mean, why Duragon was going to the satellite in the first place.
Oh, to take control of it and God beam the people who angered him.
He already had control of it. It was his. It belongs to his company.
Yeah, but you're not gonna put the button to turn it from a power generating satellite to a weapon of war anywhere that can just be accessed like over a network or radio or anything.
Yeah, but still. My amazing skills are gonna go to waste
But-
if I don't use them.
You don't need to go to the satellite to do these things.
You look like you're doing good as usual, young lady.
Oh, what about you, Ko? How are
Well, maybe you don't.
I'm doing
I don't see you designing a weaponized power-generating satellite, though.
As long as you have your health.
I thank you for that, actually.
You got it.
Thank you for not doing that.
You never know. I might inherit a multi-billion-dollar company and use it to enslave the world. And give free power to only the people that I want, and then beam everyone I don't like.
Okay, but technically that is still giving power to everyone.
Yeah, just not favorably.
Also, just like, you know, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, you can just opt to not.
Yeah.
Ko is currently on the phone with Leanne, and this is, I think this is the part where you don't hear any of this if you don't end as Ko.
Yeah, this section is very different depending on, like, this is the entirety of what the 7 endings encompass. It's whose perspective you have in that scene and what they do or don't do. In this ending, we get called by Leanne, who wants us to go to the plaza for some reason.
You'll find out when you get there.
But the other Ko ending, that just doesn't really happen. He just goes outside and is like, yep, I'm a bouncer. Cue credits.
What does Leanne want?
Did I keep you waiting?
Let's see.
Leanne.
I've got orders from command. I'm here to fight you.
Oh, we're fighting.
What?
No.
For once, I agree with
ordered me to fight you.
So it doesn't matter if you win this or not.
Which is good because she input reads.
Axe.
The entire purpose of this is you can unlock her in Versus as a bonus character if you win. But there's a trick to that. When you unlock one of the secret characters this way, there are 2 of them, the stat rank they have is equal to the enemy rank that you have when you fight them. So if you do this on your first time, you're going to get a C rank Leanne that you can't level up unless you go back and unlock her again once you're S.
Yeah, so there's no point in doing it until you've capped Ko out anyway.
Yeah, I had time to react there. I definitely wasn't having a fist in my face frame 1.
This is... Each character has one of these to unlock a special character, and none of them are fair. It's kind of a crapshoot. Fortunately, it doesn't really matter for the purposes of the game if you win or lose.
High stakes. Basically, the stakes are, if you lose, you get unassigned and you can't go back to being the bouncer there. And if you win, you can. And as far as the story is concerned, that's it.
What's the meaning of this?
Just testing you. They didn't want you to watch over the target if you lacked the skills to beat me.
So, what's going to happen now?
You're relieved of your assignment, of course.
Wah, wah.
Is what I'd like to say, but you'll continue with your current assignment.
Except nothing matters.
Whoa.
It's okay.
The Mikado
swap.
incident happened because you weren't doing your job, but you were still able to solve the problem.
Hey, I thought we were supposed to keep personal feelings from interfering with the mission.
Don't get cocky.
It's never easy, is it?
And scene.
That is a video game. That was a pretty clean showcase of everything, too. Usually there's a little bit of difficulty somewhere in there. I mean, aside from the little capture burp.
There was the camera shenanigans trying to do Sion's maze garbage, but
yeah,
that's just...
sometimes the camera just decides to spin around on you and you lose track of where you are. It happens.
Oh, by the way...
Yeah, go for it.
There's one more super special surprise waiting in the credits here. And you'll know it when you hear it because she sings a note, and it is definitely a note. You'll know it when it happens.
And just to be clear while we're waiting for that, was that like done with the showcase done?
So
like, did we finish like over an hour early? Just so I'm aware. Or do we have something else to look at?
So that's it for this playthrough, but because of the way I have my file and save set up, I can show other endings if we want to pad out time doing that.
Yes, let's please do that. After we showcase the what you were just talking about in the credits, we'll do our second break, and then we'll do the other endings on the flip side, I think.
All right. This is a perfectly okay, like, poppy song. You know, it's a little I Am the Wind, but a little newer. But I don't know, it's fine until she sings the note, and then it's pain. I think it's coming not too far off. Shoutouts to Big Phil Brewster. One heck of a digital tracker. I don't know what that means.
I've always said that about Big Phil.
Come on, do the note. I know you have it in you. I've heard it.
Ouch. If that was it.
That's not a human noise. That's like when you blow up a balloon and like you pull the ends taut so it comes out super high pitched.
Yes. Yeah, I can't fathom that is performable by a human, but apparently. Apparently. A lot of shouting out Mariah Carey. Yeah, that it definitely gave off those vibes for sure. Okay, so is there anything left in the credits here that we wanna show before we take our break?
Nah, we can break.
Cool. Okay, so what we're gonna do, everybody, just similar as to the first break we took, we're going to get a little stretch break in. So feel free to stand up, hydrate yourself, whatever you need to do. Fight off anybody who might show up and test your bouncer cred. And we will see you on the flip side of this break in just a few short moments. All right, welcome back to Awfully Silly, where we've been focusing on the bouncer today, which is, of course, a Square game from the year 2000 of at least indeterminate quality. Some people feel differently than others, but we've been having a blast here doing a new game plus showcase, doing a lot of different things, and we're going to view a few more of the endings that you can unlock in the game on the last portion of our show here. Just wanted to remind everyone too, of course, if you want to follow what Games Done Quick is up to, feel free to use ! Links in the chat, ! LINKS. For all things GDQ. That's going to get you whatever you need, hotfix content, anything about our upcoming events like Frost Fatales or SGDQ, things of that nature. So feel free to go on over and check us out there. But I think I want to see some more of these very fun and definitely very normal endings. So let's let Facet Raccoon and Tristan take it away for the last section here.
Hello again. Let's get back into things here. So The way the endings in this game work, to start us off, is there are 2 endings for each character, and then a third one for Sion. And how it works is there's an ending for if you've used that character exclusively from start to finish. If you use that character for the final boss but have not used them exclusively. And then Sion has an extra one for if you've not used him exclusively but used him for the last 2 fights. Which is weird. But we're going to start off doing Sion's
This is unforgivable, Duragon!
non-exclusive but not extra ending.
This is a little more volatile of a thing. Sion doesn't have the reach that Ko has and the just consistent damage frames of the triple kick. So we might need a try or 2 on this, but we'll see how it goes.
I've also done
in
a
a
bit
challenge
less
mode.
practice on this.
Challenge mode. I love it.
Yeah, we did not, like, if I pull the curtain back a tiny bit, we did not entirely expect to knock this out an hour ahead of time. We prepared for the eventuality, but it was not fully expected.
Hi, anybody help?
Yeah, they're just they're just standing over there in the corner. They're on coffee break. I don't think Volt wants to do anything. Okay, there we go.
Nice little headbutt there. Probably hurt extra with the horns.
Okay. I was using the wrong weird kick thing of his, because this one comes out a lot faster. The other one has more wind-up and doesn't really do more damage, and it's really confusing.
Volt just decided to spin Duragon around for a minute. It's fine.
Yeah, he didn't follow through his grab, so he didn't do any damage while, like, you know, doing all that nonsense. So this is a super dead attempt, but I'm kind of warming back up to how to do it right with Sion.
Yeah, we're going to move into Duragon's second phase, and we're keeping the health bars that we have here, which is Sion is almost dead already, so this is kind of not going well.
Yeah, this is by far the most dangerous of the 3, because he's got the right balance of defense and offense. Yeah, we're done.
The unexpected leg sweep. Oh, boy.
Yeah, the awful thing is Sion's kind of fucking mule kick move that gets that extended kick out the fastest still has enough wind-up frames that Duragon can just start kicking and interrupt it. That's alright, though. That could be a warm-up attempt.
Yeah, it might take a few to get Sion in there, and Volt, I can't guarantee I'll beat it with him at all, but...
Volt is particularly awful against Duragon, just because Volt has 2 moves that don't do a whole lot of damage and the rest are grabs, and he just does not want to be grabbed when you're fighting him.
If I remember right, I do have one particular trick, but it's not super reliable. It's one of his normals and not one of his special skills.
I love Volt's throws, though, when he manages to land them. He just picks the enemy up and throws them like he's nothing.
Hi, anybody?
So this is what we didn't see when Facet was fighting Duragon with Ko. If Duragon manages to get a really solid knockdown on you, he can just start chaining on the grounds, and every time you get hit like that, your stun timer before you can stand back up resets, and he can just murder you from full while you're prone on the ground.
And the reason it's unfair is you can kind of do that too, but you don't have anything with enough like recovery to be able to chain into something else to really take advantage of that fact, other than bouncing off of somebody else. Speaking of bouncing off of things.
Yeah, there's Duragon input reading and just seeing the mule kick start from Sion and just going, no, do not. Yeah, definitely keep track of how involved Volt and Co. are in this fight. So far, the answer has been not at all.
Yeah.
Volt got a couple of headbutts and a throw off.
As long as they operate as bodies to keep Duragon distracted, that's all I really need. Unfortunately, they're not really doing it much.
Yeah, every time you've gone in, Duragon has just instantly turned to you. Like that. Oh no.
Oh, absolutely brutal.
The Bouncer.
I mostly just need a better phase 1, because that's where Sion is weakest. I got a lot of phase 2 off of him, but I had basically nothing to go off of. This was a lot of the problem.
I have not seen you attempt this with Sion much, but seeing how Duragon reacts to your attacks, it gives me some thoughts for workshopping.
Let me... Okay, this is the other pretty decent punish move, but the reach is not good on it, and it doesn't knock down, which can be a good thing, because he can sometimes just keep repeating it. I just needed to see that and remember, oh yeah, this is really cheap because it comes out fast, and if you get any kind of help from anyone, you can get a lot of value out of it.
This is unfair.
Hi, attack someone else, please.
I am kind of glad we're seeing this, though, because your run-through was so clean. I feel like we were denied the service of watching Duragon just be uncooperative.
Yeah. This is just the Duragon experience.
Yep. And I mentioned it before. If you go and watch the speedruns on like speedrun.com, the any %, they do this at such a low level that Duragon is missing a chunk of his moves and his stats are like nothing.
Yeah, the way the speedrun sets up its stats in New Game Plus is you take every attack upgrade short of 1 and nothing else on anybody, which puts the other 2 at rank G and you in rank F at 1 upgrade short of getting to rank E, which makes all of the enemies rank G. So their AI is bad, they don't have all their moves, and they have no health. And you have so much attack, you just bowl them over.
Mm-hmm. You have almost capped out attack like you would in this playthrough, but all of the enemies are still the bottom rank.
Anyway, we've got a decent one so far.
Yeah, this is great. Look at this.
There he goes.
Sometimes he just lets you.
I beat him, Dominique.
I beat him, Dominique.
You never understand the humiliation that I have gone through.
Get out of here.
The between scenes are basically the same, with a different line at the beginning from whoever you're playing. Oh no. This is what happens when Duragon actually focuses on a different character, I say as I immediately curse it.
I was gonna say. Wow, perfect timing.
Thanks, Ko. Please ragdoll into me more. I appreciate it.
You ready?
I'm not even going to ask how that one worked.
Blame the camera. Hey. Sometimes Duragon just lets you.
Uh-huh.
Let's go.
This can't be. I'm a bouncer. I make a living putting my life on the line.
Okay.
I don't think that's what bouncers actually do.
Yeah, if that's the case, you need to get another job. They're using you.
Yeah, you're working in the wrong bar if that's how it is.
And that part's the same, so. Yeah.
You ready?
Oof.
So those two got most of their health deleted in a hurry.
Mm-hmm. They can go down. So,
I generally feel like this is both the easiest and the hardest form because he is the most punishable here, but he can also punish you the hardest.
for like half of this attempt, I've not been entirely sure what he's been doing.
Okay, I get so nervous.
Yeah, this is kind of tense.
This is the most I've ever heard of this song.
I'm glad he decided not to follow up. Oh,
ooh, good catch.
Down? Nope, not yet. Now he's down.
He is.
Well
Let's
done.
Go. Wow. Nice
now we
work.
get to see Sion's ending.
He loves to just wake up and then start charging his long build-up super, which is not a good plan if you've ever played a fighting game. Just super from nothing isn't gonna help you.
And you still couldn't beat me with all those moves. You've lost.
Wow. So what is our method of leaving in this ending?
Dominique.
There are 3 different ways to be informed of how to get off the shuttle, depending on which of the 7 endings you're in.
Sion? It was terrible. I was dreaming that I was killing lots of people.
It was just a bad dream, and you won't have any more of them. I promise.
Oh no.
Hey, we're gonna ram the satellite. Volt, change course.
This ain't no air carrier.
Why are they trusting Volt to drive? Like, that's never ended
He can drive
well.
the air carrier.
Bouncers, can you hear me?
Oh, it's the same method.
I'm sending this
Boring.
dispatch because I know you guys are alive. The Galeos is programmed to separate once it gets near the satellite. The front section will separate from the aft portion and dock with the satellite. The aft portion is designed to return to Earth. If you can hear me, get your butts to the rear of the shuttle. I repeat, I'm sending this dispatch
control of the Mikado building, pried the information from the scientists.
Who is that?
Now's not the time for 20
So,
questions.
actually, I can skip this one because it's not going to skip the new parts back at the bar section.
Okay.
Sion, that horrible dream was real, wasn't it?
Don't worry. You won't have any more of those dreams.
I still question the decision here to just lie to her and say none of that was real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is morally questionable for sure.
Man, I'm so bored. This place has been too quiet ever since that incident.
Hey, if we're not doing anything, it means the bar's doing just fine, right?
I was thinking about it. I would have done the Sion for the last 2 ending, because that has the other bonus boss.
It's your shift, Sion.
Yeah, I know.
So this changes who's the one whose shift it is and has to go outside, and which 2 people you see talking in the bar. And that's basically it. You just get different modes of exposition out of it.
Master.
Is this the one where you get to engage in brain combat?
Oh wait, this is the bonus boss one.
I don't want you to worry if I happen to disappear someday.
Master?
I like how
About improving your technique.
he's reminiscing or daydreaming or something. It can't be reminiscing because he has the present from Dominique.
Yeah, so it has to be some kind of weird combo.
Sion, I've taught you so many moves. Why do you just keep using the same one?
Because it keeps working. Maybe.
You're getting wrecked, Wong. That's why.
Well,
no, maybe. Maybe you were getting wrecked.
Oh, that was
Mutually
effective.
assured kicks.
Stop blocking.
So close.
There we
go. Nice. Wow, well done on that.
Congratulations. You beat a man up in your own like dreams and headspace.
It's now up to you to decide which path to take. You must never use the arts for personal vendettas. For someone so solitary, you've gained much power. However, you cannot continue this lonely path. Only when you open your heart and accept others will you become stronger. The spirit is the key to your strength.
Sion, whatever.
Hey, boy, can you put that on my tab? Bouncers can't be sleeping on the job.
Yeah?
You're wearing it.
Isn't that what a pendant's for?
I'm so happy. Thank you, Sion.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you.
What is it?
Thanks.
For what?
Thanks for the pendant.
And nothing else. I could have taken 5 PD4s with my hand tied behind my back, just like Duragon. When you win with Sion, you get this extra bit after the credits. Regardless of what combination you do it. This is just a flashback to Sion first meeting Dominique. That's it. There's no value here.
Who are you?
Dominique. Dominique Cross. What's your name?
Me? I'm Sion. Sion Barzad.
It's a bad last name.
Barzad.
Sion.
I don't even know why they bothered to include that.
The bouncer.
Usually, if you're going to have like the super secret special ending for doing everything like that, it's some big plot drop and not just what you knew happened already. What you going to do?
Yeah. It's time for Volt.
Time to die horrifically.
Let's see, Volt. Let's see.
So, just by merit of the fact that there has to be something that's the least bad to use against Duragon, Volt does have a move that's the least bad to use against Duragon.
I will avenge Master Mikado.
However, doesn't mean it's good.
Kick to the face.
Please
just
back
to
off.
get it going.
You
It's
just kind of
this.
throw yourself at him, huh? That does not do a lot of damage, by the way.
Sure doesn't.
Oh no. I have never actually seen this fight as Volt. I'm excited.
Let me just look at some other things. The headbutt might not be bad. Hey, Ko, you want to do something other than taunt?
That's all Ko can do.
Okay, that actually might be content.
Like Volt has absolutely no flourish to his moves. It's just
It has been a
straight up.
really long time since I've actually seriously looked at Volt's normals.
Well, that seems to be working for you. Ko actually did something. He got the final hit.
Burn in hell.
Man, a few words.
Thanks, Ko. Yeah.
There you go.
Oof.
So, the thing that's weird about the normals in this game is you have a distressing amount of normals. You have standing button press, you have moving button press, and you have light press. Because pressure sensitive face buttons. Pressure sensitivity doesn't work on my controller. So I can't do the light press attacks at all.
Of course.
You know, if Volt could just grab a steel chair from somewhere and bonk enemies with it, I would probably be 100 times more into this game than I am now.
Yeah.
I have to call it the wrestler, though.
Avenge Master
Instead of the bouncer.
So I have a better idea of
All right, okay.
how I can approach this now. Anybody? Help. Help. So the problem is if I do the moving square, that's a lot worse than the standing square, which is the kick. Because the big make myself vulnerable tackle is the moving square. I keep thinking he's going to go after someone and do a thing, and instead he just turns to me.
Seems like his moves help you get out of the way a little bit sometimes, like because they're so lungy.
Yeah. All right, somebody else finish this form off. I don't care. I'm literally waiting it out. Thank you, Ko.
Ko's got your back.
Wrong.
Oh.
Just the depth perception fail into the immediate punish.
The camera
was
is
a nice
definitely in a position. I don't know if I would call it a good position, but it's definitely a position.
Oh, it is up, is it?
It feels like they really wanted this last fight to be all dynamic, and they made the camera extremely loose on how it chased you and Duragon around, and it just means you can't really see where you are half the time. Xion's dead, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, does that carry over your allies' health bars as well?
It sure does.
Oh, bummer.
This can't be.
This is a new one.
Diluted food. All right, Ko, it's all on you. You may be in trouble. Oh, come on.
Heck.
Oh, mutually assured. I'd say you have time to give it maybe one more go.
Bouncer.
Yeah, I
If you
feel like it, like I might be getting close to it, but Volt, even with these moves being like the best I can come up with, they do very little damage because they're normals.
There's a reason why this is Ko percent and not Volt percent.
I will avenge Master Mikado.
I should have given at least a little more time stratting these out ahead of time, but I was basically just not thinking about it.
I mean, it's bonus content. We were here for Ko. We finished Ko early. Try to provide a little bit more bouncer action with the time we've got.
Okay, that was fair.
Goodness. I think Duragon heard one more attempt and just decided to be an absolute dingus.
Wow. I was holding the get up inputs that entire time. I would just like to point out.
Yeah, like I had said during the actual run, Duragon can just decide to on the ground you forever and you can't get up.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna call it a wrap there then.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll call it a wrap there. Sorry, that one got shut down a little faster than we would have liked, but still really well done. I am very impressed with the amount of content you were able to showcase in this run, because as you had mentioned up the top, the speedruns are so fast that not only do we get to see some funny cutscenes, but we got to see multiple endings. Now, it was a really fun way to do this. So thank you both for being here and for doing this for me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was glad to put this out again after doing it in BBG, I think a couple years ago now.
There's a 2021, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I believe that's when I had seen it as well. So it's always been in the back of my mind. But where can people find you, or any plugs that you guys might that you two might have rather before we take off with a few final announcements?
I've mostly just got my stream. It's just twitch.tv/Facet Raccoon. No bells or whistles on it. And I'm also on Mastodon and co-host, but I honestly don't really use those very much. I'm not hard to find there, or if you just look on my channel, I have it all there.
And
Awesome.
I don't speedrun anymore. I mostly do casual RPGs and sometimes some platformers on my channel, which is twitch.tv/Tristan. I do co-run Big Bad Gameathon, which runs every September and showcases speedruns of games like this and similar underappreciated jank, we'll call it.
Yes, and I think if people are enjoyed the show, they will very much enjoy Big Bad Game-a-thon. Spoiler alert, that is where I get a lot of ideas. If I am coming up with a few, if I'm coming up short with a theme or something like that, I'm like, I might surf some VODs or think back to some runs I've seen from Big Bad Game-a-thon. So highly suggest checking them out. Very, very cool. I will to not to give away the theme yet of the next episode, but Tristan here will be doing something on my next show, I think. So if you enjoyed that, feel free to look to that next, because we're gonna have some fun next show. I think we have fun every show, so you know it adds up. But just as a few final reminders for everyone as well, don't forget that Frost Fatales 2023 is right around the corner. Prize submissions are maybe still open. It's kind of up in the air. The deadline was today. You can check to see if it's open, and if not, you know, you might have just missed it. But regardless, check out Frost Fatales 2023 coming up. Also, SGDQ dates have been released, May 28th through June 4th, and it's going to be in person in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Stay tuned for our social medias, as well as GamesDoneQuick.com for some more information about SGDQ coming up. That's going to include a lot of things like our when volunteers will be, you know, the applications for those, when runs will be able to be submitted, and other things that will be relevant to having an event in person, such as hotel blocks and COVID restrictions and things like that. So feel free to check that out as well. And if you enjoy Hotfix content, we have some more coming up right after this.